How does the medical work? Conversations about mining. Hi, Jess. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Andrew. How you going?
Yeah, really good. Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about how a medical works or what to expect in your medical. But before we do that, I just want to do a big shout out to Nando. He's one of our three-step plan customers. He has scored a job as a nipper and truck operator underground. He's super excited and we're really proud of him. He's been amazing. He's moved to Kalgoorlie and just made it happen. So
Yep.
congratulations, Nando.
Congratulations. He left a message on the YouTube channel telling everybody that
Yeah,
he got a job. So he's pretty pleased with it all. And it just
yeah.
shows you that if you do the training and you follow the instructions and you go where the jobs are, then yeah, you're in with a real good chance of getting something.
Definitely. Yeah, he had no background at all in anything remotely close to mining. So yeah, it's awesome. Good work. It is. It's when you follow the instructions and follow the training and do what you need to do, it can be done, and it can be done quite easily if you're willing to get in and do it.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
that was awesome.
Cool. All right. So the medical. So how does the medical work, Jess?
How does the medical work? Well, I guess this question is a bit of a hard one to answer because they're all a lot different. So you can go into some medicals, as you probably know, you've probably done a million of them, and it's pretty basic. You do your wee test, you maybe do a couple of jumping jacks. The doctor asks you a few questions, you sign a form, and you're out the door in half an hour. But then there's kind of the other end of the spectrum where you go in and you feel like you've done a workout and you're there for maybe 2 or 3 hours and you're doing, urine tests and blood tests, and they're doing scans and they're checking your blood pressure, and you're running on a treadmill and maybe lifting boxes over your head and doing squats and doing doing planks, and they can be pretty full on.
Yep.
So our rule of thumb for everyone that's going into a medical is just make sure you're walking fit. Obviously, you don't have to be amazingly fit. You don't have to be pumping weights or doing anything crazy and out of the ordinary. Just make sure you're walking fit, and make sure that you declare any or all medication that you're on, especially if it's like a sleeping medication or an anxiety medication or something like that. A lot of people are under the kind of illusion, I guess, that, well, if you're in that type of medication, you're not going to get a job. But that's not the case at all. You just have to declare it. We have so many people that fail their medical because they haven't declared something like that, because they were like, oh, I didn't think, just
All
declare everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all they want is a like if you've got any permanent conditions, all they want to know is that it's stable and it's being treated. And often, if you're suffering from depression or you've got type 2 diabetes or whatever, you just need a letter from your doctor saying, no, it's all, you've had it for this long, it's been stable for this long, and it's being treated by this. And that's all that they really want.
Yeah. We've had people with, have had heart surgeries and bloody cancer surgeries and all sorts of things. As long as they have declared their medication, and just have a letter from their doctor or specialist saying it's all under control, there's no issues, you're fit for work. It's not an issue at all.
Yep.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
other one that comes up too is weight. And I like to tell
yeah,
people that it's all your body type specific. So I've worked with guys before that have weighed 160 kilos, but they've been 6'8". And,
yeah.
they look like they could be a Terminator or whatever. I couldn't believe this guy could get into a truck or a bogger. He got into a 151 bogger, and they're one of the smallest boggers you could get back in the day, and literally his knees were up around his ears. Like I'm 6'3.5", and even getting one of those, like you'd have to climb it. It was like Dukes of Hazzard trying to get into the thing. And this guy, he used to get into it and used to bend himself into the trucks and all that sort of stuff. But he was just a big boy, and they stripped out all the seats, and because the seats that they can go up to 180 kilos now. So they can put different seats in for you and all that sort of stuff. But with the medicals, if you're 5'2" and you weigh 140 kilos, you're probably going to have a problem with the medical. But if you're 6'4" and weigh 140 kilos, and most of it's muscle, then and you can pass all the fitness things and all that sort of stuff, then you'll pass your medical. It's just down to how fit you are for your body type.
Yeah, and it's usually your BMI. I think they go a lot by your BMI and what your weight is to in regards to your height. So yeah, you can. Yeah, a lot of people are like, no, yeah, if you're over 120 kilos, you're not going to get a job, but that really is dependent on your height.
Yep.
Yeah, and you'll
And
build, you
and
know.
whether you're full of muscle or not, because I get a lot of guys that do, that train and do,
Yeah,
are into the gym a little bit on their time off and all that sort of stuff. And because it's quite physical work, it's really easy to keep all that up when you're just on the job, just doing stuff on the job. I walked into the magazine one day and the charge up guy was really into it, but he was going to the gym and I had a bit of a chat to him about the fact that the foreman had commented to me about how he'd been going to the gym. And I sort of said to him, look, any chance you could build your workout into when you're moving shit around the magazine? And that's who I walked in on one day and he's literally doing the squats, moving the power gel around the place and, being really precise. And he was so embarrassed when I sort of walked in behind him. I'm like, no, 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 that's great. I'm happy with that. That's great. Great compromise. You're getting your workout. We're getting the work done for the day. It's all good, mate. It's all good. And yeah, yeah, funny, but yeah, but yeah, it's just a matter of being fit and walking fit and healthy, and they also take your age into consideration as well. So they're not
yeah,
expecting somebody that's 55 or 60 to be doing the same sort of things that somebody who's 25-year-old in the medicals. So just be aware of that as
yeah,
well. That's why I say walking
yeah,
fit. If you're walking fit at whatever
yeah,
age you are, if you can do 2Ks walking, then you're probably going to pass your medical.
yeah, yeah,
And the other thing too is that with some of companies like BHP, they bring in, I can't remember what the name of it is. It's a big long name of the medical that they do, but the whole idea is to get your base of where you are at the moment with your functionality. So you do
yeah,
your normal medical and then you do a functionality medical. And that one can cost anything up to 2 grand. And they get you to put things together above your head and below around your ankles, and they get you to squat and do everything. And they're just getting a baseline on your range of movements. So if you do get hurt later on, then they've got a baseline to go back to see how much that they pay out. Because the whole reason that you're doing a medical is because I don't know how many mine sites I've been on where people have done medicals, got to site, and 2 weeks later it's like on my back, or 3 days after they get to
yeah,
site, it's like on my knee or my shoulder or whatever. And because people are just trying to rort the system. That's why the medicals are so full on because we had one guy in Norseman turn up and he went to the ROM loader and he literally tried to tell everybody that he jumped into the ROM loader and sat down and he did his back straight away. Like first thing he did, he didn't even do anything on site. Basically got into the loader and I've done my back. End up costing him $500,000.
wow,
So that's why they do medicals. That was back in the
yeah,
early 2000s. So, but yeah, and that's why bosses are so suspicious because they've all got war stories of people that have taken them for huge amounts of money and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, and it was
um,
down.
I'll never forget, I'll never forget the story, Mount Keith, and there was a dump truck operator, and when they were doing shift handover, he knew where the cameras were set up, where they all came in and parked, but he obviously had not taken into consideration there was another one by the crib room that could actually see out to where they were standing. And he walked around the side of the truck and like threw himself on the ground. Tried to save himself, but it was on camera. And I'll never forget our supervisor showing us the footage, which he probably wasn't supposed to do, but it was comical. He literally hopped out, finished his shift, hopped out, walked around, and just threw himself on the ground. I couldn't believe it. I was like, and
Yeah.
people do that. That's why they have to cover their asses too and make sure that they know exactly where you are and if you've had any injuries and things like that, so that you can't do that type of thing.
Yep, yep. And on the flip side of that, people do like people trip and fall and do stupid things as
Yeah,
well, not deliberately. We had a guy walking from the workshop to the shift boss's office, and they had the telephone poles buried in the ground to pull the utes up to, like they were half sleepers, just sticking out of the ground, probably half a foot or whatever. And he
yeah.
tripped over that and broke both his arms. Yeah, I
Wow.
know. Yeah, 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 yeah. You try being the shit. I was just, like, I walked into it. It was like, holy shit, what the fuck's going on here? And then what was worse, like I was still doing paperwork at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was just like,
Yeah.
because how does this? And he didn't just break. He broke them badly. It was, yeah, it
Wow.
was it was really, really nasty. But yeah, just walking and just not paying. You see, I just was walking there and I just tripped and I couldn't regain it, and I sort of went forward and I tried to put my hands out to brace myself, and bang. And like it was funny too because if he'd done that, like your guys' scenario, then people could have said that, something like your guys, would have happened. But he didn't. It was like on shift change and there were 20 people standing in front of the bus watching it.
Yeah,
So
just a silly accident, and they do happen.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's just one of those things. And again, that's why they're looking for medicals for all that sort of stuff. We had a guy that did a medical for Newcrest for Cadia about 5 years ago, and in the medical, they picked up that he's got lung cancer.
Wow.
Yep. So Simon and Newcrest were really good about it. They ended up giving him the job as well. Once he got fixed with the lung cancer, he ended up getting the job. But yeah, he was one of the guys that got a that did our work ready package back in the day and got a job. And but yeah, they because I get this text message from him going, I can't believe, you saved my life. And I'm like, what the, what's this all about? And he's like, holy, he gives me a call. Then I had a chat to him. He's like, holy shit, you actually saved my life. If I hadn't done the training, I would have never got the interview. If I didn't get the interview and the job, I would have never done the medical. And if I didn't do the medical, there's no way that they would have picked it up until, sort of probably 5 or 6 years down the track, because it was really, really tiny. And his surgeon even said to him, I don't normally get to say this to people, but you're going to be absolutely fine. Because
Wow.
normally they take the approach that we don't know what's going to happen, but because they picked it up so early, yeah, it all worked out really well for him. So that's why they
That's
do
so lucky.
medicals, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other
Yeah.
thing about medicals is that they're treating you like a bit of cattle too, so it's perfectly all right to behave like a bit of cattle. Especially, once you get into the industry, you end up trying to shift jobs or whatever. If you're going for three different jobs, you'll end up doing three different medicals. So, I try and tell people that, there's a reason that the doctors that are doing the company medicals are doing them, because they don't have any personality and they can't make any money the other way. So they want to try and they want to try and make as much money as they can by doing as many medicals as they can. So if you start treating that doctor like your GP, then you're going to have problems. They want to get you in and out as quickly as possible. So yeah, so
And you out of there as quickly as possible. Don't start telling them about the work accident you had in 1987 and the broken back you had when you were 12. And do not tell them all of that stuff. Just answer what's on their sheet and answer what they ask you, and otherwise zip it.
Yep, exactly. Treat them like they're treating you. So yeah, but that's medicals. People have wanted to know a bit about it, and there's not a lot to it. Just make sure you clear your deck, and you're ready to do some squats and some planking and all that sort of wonderful stuff. But yeah, it's just a pain in the ass every time you swap jobs to have to do them. And but yeah, you don't have to pay for them. If anybody's telling you to pay for them, you should probably be looking into a bit more depth. The way it works, especially in WA and most of the other states, all the employers have to pay for them themselves. And that's the other thing, is that, most places, they're not going to put you on a medical unless they're absolutely considering you for the job, because who's going to pay $1,200 for a medical if they're only, they might give you a job or they might not. So more than often, but it's not a guarantee of getting a job. You can still fail the medical and things can still go sideways on site and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. Cool. All right. So if you've got any more questions about the industry, please send them through. And if you could share this video around and like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.
Thanks.